Live, local, late breaking. WMBF News starts with breaking news.
Thanks for joining us at 7 o'clock. I'm Eric Weisfeld. We do have breaking news out of Conway. Officers in Horry County say there's one victim in the shooting that happened earlier this afternoon on Wharf Drive. WMBF News reporter Ian Klein joins us live from the scene now. What's the update, Ian?
Yeah, Eric, that right there, learning about that there is one victim involved in this shooting. We learned that about around 6:30 this evening. Now, the scene is much quieter right now. We have some video from earlier before the Horry County Police Department and investigative team putting the crime scene tape around the house over here over my shoulder off of Wharf Drive. This is off Highway 65 off of 701 as you're heading more towards the rural part of Conway, probably about 4.5 miles out from downtown Conway. As we've been confirmed from Horry County Police, there is one victim involved in this shooting. I was talking to some people that were out in this area. They said that they did hear a gunfire and they did hear one woman screaming. However, that's pretty much the limited information that we know at this time. It is still an active investigation at this time. We're working to learn a little bit more information about the condition of the victim. However, there is no threat to the community here at this time. Again, this is the Wharf in Conway, the mobile home community right off of Highway 65. The shooting happening off Wharf Drive around 5 o'clock this evening. We'll be sure to bring you guys any updates throughout the evening as soon as we get those as it develops this evening. Reporting live tonight in Horry County, Ian Klein, WMBF News.
All right, Ian, and right now police are also investigating a shooting outside of Surfside Beach. Horry County Police say it happened on Dick Pond Road near Socastee. Officers responded just before 5:30 this evening. Police say they have not located any victims. Let's stay in Conway now, where 6 people are facing charges in connection to a deadly shooting that happened earlier this month. People on your screen right now: Don Brown, Shamonte Graham, Chi Ransom, and Tronaz Whittington all face at least one count of murder. 2 more suspects have been arrested and charged as juveniles. The incident happened September 12th near D Street and Rosemoss Road. That's where they found 19-year-old Jamie Johnson, who later died from his injuries. Officers in Conway also investigating a shooting that happened last night just off Main Street. Authorities say it happened in the area of Boundary Street. 2 people were injured in this shooting and were taken to a nearby hospital. Well, an Horry County man is taking it upon himself to get out and try to expose people he says are preying on children. He goes by Panda. That stands for Parents Against Not Doing Anything. He created the Panda Facebook group 3 weeks ago to help expose people he says he finds online who believe that he's a teenager and then they solicit him for sex. Then he gets them to meet up where he confronts them and hands their information over to police. The group already has almost 7,000 members, asking how they can help him in his new mission around Horry County. Here's one reason Panda says he took action.
Sometimes you get a news article and it's just a picture and a person's charges, and then it gets buried under a football game or under politics or your local whatever. That's not enough to get the community to see these people. There's people who don't go on the news. There's people who are just on Facebook. So I'm using what I can to get my voice out there, because if not, nobody's going to do anything about it. It's our time to save our kids.
The Attorney General's office recommends leaving the crime fighting to law enforcement. Spokesperson says confronting people in this way can be extremely dangerous and also lead to interference in an ongoing investigation. For more on the Attorney General's office response and the best ways to protect your child online, like covering those webcams, you can find this full story on WMBFnews.com.
All right, we've seen a good-looking sunset here across the area over the past 30 to 40 minutes or so as a couple of mid and high-level clouds start to stream in. And as we head through the rest of the overnight hours tonight, still comfortable, although not as cool as what we've seen the past couple of nights. In fact, the low 50s from the past 2 nights. Well, tonight we're dropping down to around 60 here across the Grand Strand. We've had 40s across the PD the past 2 nights. Notice by the time you wake up tomorrow morning, mid 50s. Yeah, it's still comfortable, just not nearly as chilly as it has been. And we'll continue that warming trend heading into tomorrow afternoon as temperatures climb into the upper 70s on the beaches. A couple of inland spots likely to hit that 80-degree mark. And despite some clouds thickening up out there right now, it is dry. It stays that way for Thursday, but notice the rain breaking out here across the deep south. That is the moisture left over from Beta that works its way into our neck of the woods to finish up the week. I'll have a look at future radar and your weekend forecast coming up.
The Longs area has grown 367% since 2015. But one thing that has stayed the same is the 2-engine fire station on Highway 9. Horry County leaders celebrated the groundbreaking for a new station back in February, but since then the project has been delayed nearly 9 months. WMBF News reporter Catherine Phillips is in Longs tonight to tell us what set that project back.
Originally, Horry County leaders wanted the new Fire Station 13 to be open and ready by this December. Now, they just hope to break ground on the project by then.
At this point, the project is moving forward. We're not currently delayed, stalled, waiting on anything. We are moving forward and ready to get the shovels in the ground on that project by the end of this year.
9 months after an official groundbreaking ceremony, work will finally get done on a new Fire Station 13. Horry County spokesperson Kelly Moore says there were some issues during the land acquisition process. Grand Strand Water and Sewer owns the parcel of land next to the station. In order to build the new station, the county had to purchase land.
It seems like there may have been some confusion on that. We did work with Grand Strand Water and Sewer after the purchase of the property to make some adjustments to the parcel itself.
But now the county has applied for the building permit. And long-serving council member Paul Prince, who represents the Longs area and has pushed for the new station, says he hopes to see the project break ground by the end of his final term.
Well, I guess I'm disappointed in the slowness of the way county government works.
Councilmember Prince says the people who are moving into Longs are moving from outside of the county. He says most coming from places with big fire stations nearby. Fire Station 13 is a volunteer station. Horry County Fire Rescue says the station has around 11 volunteers. And for nearly every call, nearly every nearby station, loss of respond. Still, the need for a new station is there. And Moore says soon it will be.
We're now anticipating the project to be completed, the building to be open in October of 2021.
Right now, the county says the new Fire Station 13 should cost around $1.75 million. Reporting in Horry County, Catherine Phillips, WMBF News.
And speaking of growth, Horry County has seen a 27% growth in its population over the last decade. That's according to the U.S. Census. More people means more drivers and potentially speeding issues across the county. WMBF News reporter Zach Wilcox met with Horry County Police Chief Joseph Hill to see how the department is cracking down on speeders.
Seeing blue lights in your rearview mirror is never a good sight, but it's a part of the job that's becoming more and more common for Horry County traffic patrol officers, and it's a part of the job that they're hoping some new technology will help them isolate where issues are and address them.
Speeding doesn't change the erratic behavior of drivers. It's just the increase in drivers that we have here. With the population explosion in Horry County, we're getting multiple complaints on a regular basis of speeding in neighborhoods.
Horry County Police Chief Joseph Hill says he has officers writing up 75 speeding tickets some days. It's gotten to the point that the chief finds himself frequently making traffic stops.
Myself, my deputy chiefs, captains, every officer out there is engaged in re-educating our drivers. Not necessarily for a revenue generator, but as a warning to either slow down or change behaviors.
The Horry County Police Department recently received 3 new speed trailers from a grant. They put the trailers out in locations where they get frequent complaints. And the new trailers are changing the way the department addresses speeding concerns.
As a car passes through the radar trailer, we note the time, date, and speed. So we can develop patterns on when it's best to place an officer out there to do actual enforcement.
Having enough officers has been another piece of the puzzle. Hill says the department hasn't been able to staff enough officers to keep up with the population trend. Fortunately, a COP grant just created 15 new officer positions to add to the existing 245.
We're doing the best we can to keep up, but everywhere you go, they're building new communities, and that means new drivers. And that means that folks that will occasionally not obey the speed limit, so we have our work cut out for us.
And Chief Hill says that now that school is back in session, there's going to be more of an emphasis on controlling speeding in the school zones. And for example, this speed trailer is just a few blocks away from North Myrtle Beach Middle School. In Horry County, Zach Wilcox, WMBF News.
Protests continue across the nation after the charges were handed down in the case of Breonna Taylor. We'll take you live to Louisville, Kentucky, next at 7.
Now the certified most accurate forecast from First Alert Chief Meteorologist Jamie Arnold.
Well, some very good news to report out of the tropics this evening. No named storms currently ongoing, and just as important, no development now expected over the next 5 days. Teddy, just now a big ocean storm here working its way past Newfoundland. Beta, what's left of it, just rain with a name, coming through the deep south right now and elsewhere. At least for now, things are quiet. We still have 67 days left, though, in hurricane season 2020. And as we get into October, we tend to start watching down towards the Caribbean, into the southern Gulf of Mexico. That can be a hot spot late in the hurricane season, and every once in a while, something gets picked up out of there and heads our way. So certainly far from over. At least for now, though, we can take a little bit of a breather out of the tropics. But let's talk about that rainfall associated with Beta continuing to fall across Mississippi and Louisiana tonight. But notice tomorrow we start to shift that eastward into Alabama, sneaking its way into Georgia through the day on Thursday. And then by Friday, we see that moisture approaching our area. That gives us increasing chances for showers, maybe some briefly heavy downpours, perhaps a rumble of thunder as we work our way into Friday afternoon and Friday night. And some of those showers likely linger into early Saturday, although I think by the time we get into Saturday afternoon, we'll be able to shut those rainfall chances down and actually salvage a pretty decent weekend forecast. And as far as how much rain falls, this isn't going to be anything like the 4 to 6 inches we saw last week from Sally's remnants. We're talking about on average 1/2 to 1 inch of rain across our area, maybe some higher amounts 2 to 3 inches just off to our north, there across central sections of North Carolina. But in addition to the rain, we're also watching the warmth and the humidity starting to make a comeback. In fact, we'll have our temperatures up into the 80s all the way through Saturday, Sunday into early next week. You can see that here with your Myrtle Beach 7-day forecast, taking us to 78 tomorrow, 79 on Friday, and considerably more humid with that 70% chance of some of those showers and storms. Those chances on 60% on Saturday for the first half of the day. And then as we head into early next week, temperatures stay warm, no more comfortable nights to leave the windows open. Overnight temperatures dropping into the low 70s, and for Florence and the PD, you'll hit 80 heading into Thursday. Lower 80s start on Friday, but with that comes the chance for some of those downpours to continue into early Saturday, and temperatures climbing all the way into the mid-80s by Sunday into Monday of next week.
Today marks the first day of public services for the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. You're taking a live look outside the U.S. Supreme Court now as people continue to pay their respects. President Bill Clinton nominated Justice Ginsburg to the Supreme Court back in 1993. She died last week at the age of 87 from pancreatic cancer.
Losing her this year is so tough in that it comes on the heels of having lost John Lewis, who on the same day we lost C.T. Vivian, and a few weeks earlier lost Joe Lowry.
Justice Ginsburg will lie in repose today and tomorrow. President Trump says he'll be there tomorrow to pay his respects. And in honor of Justice Ginsburg, a documentary about her is returning to theaters. RBG, the award-winning documentary about the late Supreme Court Justice, and the feature film On the Basis of Sex, starring Felicity Jones as Ginsburg, will be re-released in about 1,000 U.S. theaters Friday. The distributors are donating the net proceeds to the ACLU's Women's Rights Project, which Ginsburg co-founded in 1972. 6 months after the shooting of the 26-year-old Breonna Taylor, one officer has been indicted in the case. But for many in Louisville, Kentucky, the announcement is causing more frustration in an already fractured city. Protests continue in the city tonight. Brett Hankinson faces 3 counts of wanton endangerment for firing into the apartments of Taylor's neighbors. If convicted, he faces a 5-year sentence for each count. The other 2 officers involved in the March 13th warrant raid were not indicted. Kentucky's Attorney General says the force those 2 officers used that night was justified. Breonna Taylor was shot several times. Her boyfriend says they thought someone was breaking into the apartment and he fired 1 shot at the door. Officers then returned fire. The Kentucky Attorney General says the case was put together with ballistics evidence and 911 calls because there was no body camera video. But he says the officers did knock and announce themselves prior to entering that apartment.
Evidence shows that officers both knocked and announced their presence at the apartment. The officers' statements about their announcement are corroborated by an independent witness who was near in proximity to apartment 4. In other words, the warrant was not served as a no-knock warrant. When officers were unable to get anyone to answer or open the door to apartment 4, the decision was made to breach the door.
Lawyers who represent Breonna Taylor's family called the indictment, quote, outrageous and offensive. In a tweet, attorney Ben Crump wrote, if Brett Hankinson's behavior was wanton endangerment to people in neighboring apartments, then it should have been wanton endangerment in Breonna Taylor's apartment, too. In Kentucky, wanton endangerment is listed as a Class D felony. Charges are punishable for 1 to 5 years, fines of up to $10,000. In Hankinson's termination letter, acting chief Robert Schrader said Hankinson violated LMPD standard operating procedures when he, quote, blindly fired 10 rounds into Taylor's apartment while executing the no-knock search warrant. Again, Hankinson's counts involve endangering Breonna Taylor's neighbors, not what happened at her home. Just last week, the city settled a lawsuit against the 3 officers brought by Taylor's mother, agreeing to pay her $12 million and to enact police reforms. This includes the ban of no-knock warrants. As crowds continue to gather protesting the decision, Louisville's mayor put into place a curfew that will begin at 9 o'clock tonight. It will end tomorrow morning at 6. New tonight, a white Louisiana police officer who assisted in the arrest where Alton Sterling was shot to death has been dismissed from a wrongful death lawsuit. A judge dismissed Howie Lake II from the case Monday. Lake was accused of using a stun gun on Sterling and helping to wrestle him to the ground during the 2016 encounter in Baton Rouge. He did not fire his gun. Officials say former officer Blaine Salamone was the only one who shot Sterling. Lake's attorney argued there was nothing he could have done to prevent that shooting. The suit is set for trial in 2001.
And coming up, CCU's defense is getting some love after back-to-back impressive wins on national TV, which Chanticleer was named the Sun Belt Defensive Player of the Week. Plus, the reigning Class 1A state champs are looking to three-peat under a new head coach, while players say Joey Price is the perfect person to help them reach the top again. Welcome back, and thanks for keeping it here for sports. I'm Gabe McDonald. CCU is off to its best start since 2016, and this week a member of the Black Swarm defense received a huge honor. One member of the duo with the best hair in college football was named the Sun Belt's Defensive Player of the Week. Senior linebacker Silas Kelly recorded 8 total tackles with 2 sacks in the Chants win over Campbell last Friday. Over the first 2 games this season, Kelly has recorded 16 tackles, with 4 coming for a loss and 3 sacks. Kelly and the squad are glad to see him receive the honor, given everything he's been through this past year.
I kind of attribute it to just being dangerous from a lot of different areas, and I was able to make the plays that were presented to me.
He's doing everything he can to, play at that level, and I think it's just, I think it's good for him now that, he knows that he's come back, he's ready to play, and he can still play at the level he did prior to, maybe even better.
His confidence in himself has never wavered, but just in the confidence in his knee and some of those has gotten better and better. And the more you play, the more confident you get. Great to have him back, obviously on the field, but really just as a teammate and the way he does things. And so it's been awesome to see him rebound and recover this year.
Dropping down to high school as we continue previewing our Extra Point Game of the Week. Green Sea Floyds is entering the 2020 season having won the Class 1A state title the past 2 years. The Trojans will now aim to keep things going with a new coach at the helm. Joey Price took over the program in March, but is no stranger to winning championships. He won 5 rings as a head coach in North Carolina. With the first game of the season approaching against rival Lakeview, the team has responded well to what he's brought to Green Sea.
Don't get the big head that we won 2 state championships back to back. So we gotta, because there's people coming for us to go win it.
Brought a new offense. He's brought a new motivation. He's brought a new attitude, and he's trying to get us focused on the same goal that we're trying to reach a 3rd ring.
I try to tell kids all the time, if all I ever do is worry about winning a football game, I'm a failure as a coach, and I'm mostly as a person. Our coaches know that. I hope our players will learn that as we go. But now the football is still what we do. It's the game that we're going to play, and we want to be the best prepared to do that on Friday nights.
And that's a wrap for Sports at 7. I'll see you back here at 11 as we continue previewing our extra point game of the week between the Trojans and Wild Gators. For now, I'm going to send it over to you, Jamie.
And Gabe, another nice evening underway to maybe spend some time out on the back patio. Temperatures, Florence right now sitting at a comfortable 67 degrees, but warming up and turning more humid as we finish up the week. I'll have a look at that and those rising rain chances coming up on WMBF News at 7:30.
Live, local, late breaking. This is WMBF News at 7:30.
Good evening. WMBF News continues for you at 7:30. I'm Eric Weisfeld. Let's take a live look over the beach. Many are enjoying a cool fall day still at this hour with sand between their toes. But as we've been telling you all week, the humidity will enter back into the Grand Strand. That's thanks to Beta. Chief Meteorologist Jamie Arnold has more in your certified most accurate forecast. Jamie?
And yeah, we are going to see the warmth and the humidity coming back. In fact, already starting to see some subtle signs of that as we head through this evening. Some of those clouds starting to thicken up, and we're certainly going to notice it temperature-wise. Past couple of nights at the beaches, we've been way down in the low 50s. You maybe needed a hoodie early in the morning. Not going to be the case tomorrow morning. We'll still be comfortable as temperatures drop into the low 60s. And then as we head towards tomorrow afternoon, we'll continue that warming trend. Temperatures back into the upper 70s. Skies will be mostly cloudy at times, though, as we head through the day. Florence into the PD, you've had 40s the past couple of nights. We're talking mid to upper 50s overnight tonight, a tranquil night, just not quite as cool. And then heading into the day tomorrow, temperatures climb their way towards that 80-degree mark. And as we work our way through the rest of the week, yes, that warming trend continues. We're bringing the 80s back, but we're also bringing rain chances back. I'll let you know how those rain chances play into your weekend forecast coming up.
And new at 7:30, a bill that would financially support firefighters if they're diagnosed with cancer is closer to becoming state law. The Senate passed the Firefighter Cancer Health Care Benefits Plan, sent it to the governor's desk just hours after the House passed the third reading. The bill would help firefighters cover the cost of risking their lives to save others. If a firefighter is diagnosed with one of several cancers listed in the bill, the state will provide a one-time payment of $20,000 upon diagnosis, along with $12,000 a year to help cover out-of-pocket medical expenses. Midway Fire Chief Doug Eggeman says that cancer is the leading cause of death for firefighters. In fact, his department lost one of its own, Battalion Chief Josh Carney, to cancer back in 2017. He says they've spent years advocating for this bill.
So many people, in the fire service and spouses and representatives have pushed hard and fought hard to get this in place, and so we're hopeful. There seems to be light at the end of the tunnel.
In a case where the firefighter dies from cancer, the firefighter's family receives $75,000. Horry County Fire Rescue's longest-serving volunteer says he's retiring after 40 years. Captain James Hodge signed off for the final time this morning. Today, colleagues and family threw a small ceremony for him. He received a ceremonial axe, a shadow box with his helmet's shield on it, and a challenge coin from the department. There's the axe. Hodge primarily served in the Wampy community out of Station 5. Hundreds of educators across South Carolina took a personal day today. It's all in response to lawmakers not passing a budget plan this year that included yearly teacher pay bumps frozen because of the pandemic. The grassroots teacher group SC4Ed organized today's event. They're the same group responsible for last year's May 1st rally at the State House. Today they held virtual events and asked their members to contact lawmakers.
That's only part of it. I mean, educators didn't go into teaching to make money, but it's almost a slap in the face that we're pretty much being ignored.
SC4Ed members say they're already making plans for their lobby day at the State House in 2021. South Carolina ranks 43rd for states that have completed this year's census form, and with 7 days left until the deadline, officials are making it easier for you to fill it out. Kate Merriman explains how in just 3 minutes. The 2020 census form is due 1 week from today, and your response is crucial in determining how much federal money comes to our community. WMBF News Today reporter Kate Merriman explains how you can file your census from the comfort of your own home.
This is the first year you can complete the 2020 census from the comfort of your home online. It takes minutes to complete, and all you have to do is go to my2020census.gov and fill out the questionnaire.
The purpose of completing the census is to bring as much federal money to our communities as possible, and that's why the more people who fill out the form, the more money for South Carolinians. It pays for road projects, schools, hospitals, you name it. The United Way Association of South Carolina CEO and co-chair of South Carolina Complete Count Committee, Naomi Letts, says this year has had its own challenges because of the pandemic. Letts says one being fewer opportunities for census workers to educate you and knock on your doors as much as they would during a typical census year. And while completing the census online is making it more accessible this year, Letts says the state's still seeing a lower self-response rate. Lett broke down how important your response is and how it can create change over a period of 10 years.
It's estimated that every person over a period of 1 year is around $3,000. So if we had 1,000 people who didn't participate over a period of 10 years, their community could lose up to $3 million in investments in a variety of ways. So like every person matters, and they don't matter in another place that they never see the benefit. They matter for their community specifically.
If you have a second home here in South Carolina, Letts says it's also important to include that on your census form. In Horry County, Kate Merriman, WMBF News.
Well, the city of Myrtle Beach just wrapped up a virtual public safety forum answering your questions about how leaders can help you feel safer. WMBF News reporter Jennifer Roberts attended that meeting. So, Jennifer, what type of safety questions did residents actually have for city leaders?
Eric, many city leaders came to the table today to discuss how to make families feel safer every day. Now, at the table, it included Neighborhood Services Director and the Myrtle Beach Police Department. And one of the biggest questions they were hearing from residents is how to be better prepared in case a hurricane does come their way. Now, one of the biggest pieces of advice that the city leaders gave residents is to make sure they get prepared now in case a hurricane does come and to not wait until the last minute. Now, that includes knowing the zone as far as where you live and having everything you need inside of your house in case an emergency does occur. Now, one of the questions that some residents did ask is what to do with their animals as far as shelters or hotels, as far as ensuring that there'll be a place for their animals to go. And Myrtle Beach Police Chief Amy Prock said that one of the things people need to do is to make sure they call beforehand the hotels or the shelters to make sure there is a space and that they do allow for animals to be there.
Again, it goes back to that preparation. If you're prepared, you're checking now prior to a storm to see what is available, because a lot of hotels, if you do leave the area, they don't have the ability to house them. So I would check with your local facilities. There are some facilities that do house them, but that is something you would have to do prior to. So check with your local vets, your local housing, your local kennels, and do that prior to.
City leaders also provided some safety advice for beachgoers. I'll bring you more of that story tonight at 11. Live in Myrtle Beach, I'm Jennifer Roberts, WMBF News.
In your Decision 2020 coverage tonight, Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden made a stop in the Queen City to host a Black Economic Summit. During that stop, he announced a new initiative that would engage small businesses across the country. It's called the Small Business and Entrepreneurs Advisory Council, made up of a group of leaders tasked with mobilizing small business owners and entrepreneurs to vote for Biden and Kamala Harris. It's made up of more than 24 entrepreneurs and business leaders from across the country.
Most small businesses that are neighborhood small businesses are 10 or fewer employees. And so what I propose is we focus on making sure that the money goes directly to those businesses that in fact provide for, be able to keep their employees on the payroll for the 10 or fewer employees. That's a priority. And then 50 and under.
This was Biden's first visit to North Carolina since before the primary election in the spring. Looking ahead, President Trump also plans to campaign in Charlotte tomorrow. He'll be speaking from an airplane hangar to supporters. The White House says the president plans to lay out details about ways to lower health care costs. No crowds means no business for music venues. Next at 7:30, what some members of Congress are doing in hopes of saving the live music industry during this pandemic.
Now, the certified most accurate forecast from First Alert Chief Meteorologist Jamie Arnold.
Well, taking us through our Thursday with some slightly warmer temperatures. To start off the day, notice 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, 58 in Florence, 62 for the Grand Strand. So a warmer start, and with that head start on temperatures, those temperatures will continue to warm. In fact, as we head towards lunchtime, mid-70s, skies mostly cloudy at times, but despite those clouds, those temperatures continue to warm into the upper 70s to near 80 heading into tomorrow afternoon, and even as we head towards dinner time tomorrow evening, much milder than these past few evenings, with temperatures by 7 p.m. tomorrow still into the 70s as we are now heading into a much warmer weather pattern with southland southwesterly winds pushing our temperatures up. And in fact, as we head through the weekend, those temperatures climb their way into the 80s, and we also see the humidity increasing as well. Now, that humidity tomorrow is still pretty comfortable, but notice a quick jump here for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, starting to feel rather steamy, and that's also the time frame that we're going to see our chances for showers and thunderstorms begin to increase. In fact, notice Friday rain chances at 70%, 60% heading into the day on Saturday. Let's kind of time it out here for you with future radar. Tomorrow, it's just clouds, mostly cloudy at times as we head through the day on Thursday. Some breaks here and there for some sunshine. And even as we head towards Thursday night into Friday morning, for the most part, it stays dry. It could be an isolated sprinkle or shower. But notice as we go from 7 a.m. on Friday into late Friday afternoon and Friday evening, we see those showers and storms beginning to increase, with the best chances coming late Saturday through around sunrise or so on Saturday. And by the time all is said and done, 1/2 to 1 inch of rain across the area, a far cry from that 4 to 6 inches we had to deal with the remnants of Sally last Thursday and Friday. So your 7-day forecast takes us up to 78 tomorrow, 79, but turning muggy on Friday. Showers and storms, pretty good bet late in the day. Showers and storms, still a good bet pretty early in the day on Saturday, but we salvage a pretty decent weekend with Saturday afternoon into Sunday generally dry outside of a stray shower, but temperatures climbing into the low 80s. Florence into the PD, you'll hit 80 for tomorrow, 81 on Friday with those pop-up downpours at times, and then we're all the way up into the mid 80s by the time we head into Sunday and Monday.
Do you miss seeing a show at your favorite club or concert hall? Well, if so, you are not the only one. Small and medium-sized music venues continue to struggle financially during the coronavirus pandemic, and some are on the verge of closing permanently. But as Washington Bureau Chief Jacqueline Policastro tells us, some lawmakers are working to save that industry.
Music fans across the country are missing live shows as thousands of venues remain closed.
We have no revenue, we have enormous overhead, and no view into when we're going to get to reopen.
Audrey Fix-Schaefer works with several music venues across the D.C.-Baltimore area. Since April, she's also been part of the National Independent Venue Association, or NIVA, a new organization representing more than 2,000 concert hall owners and promoters, fighting for federal assistance to stay open.
Venues are going under right now because Congress has not acted.
According to a survey of NIVA's members in March, 90% said their venues would be forced to close if the pandemic lasted more than 6 months without federal funding. Now that fear is becoming a reality.
Most independent venues did not qualify for earlier coronavirus relief from the federal government. Some have tried outdoor or live stream performances to bring in cash, but it's not enough to pay the bills. So most venues have remained closed until they can host crowds again.
Music in America is such an important part of our culture, and it's also a huge economic driver.
Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar and Texas Senator John Cornyn wrote the bipartisan Save Our Stages Act. The legislation would provide $10 billion for venues to cover expenses like rent and utilities.
We all recognize the nature of the emergency and the need to respond in a big and bold way.
Senators are trying to make sure the legislation is included in the next broad coronavirus relief package. But with negotiations stalled in Congress, it's unclear if and when the music will play again.
Breaking news just into our newsroom. The Horry County Coroner's Office is responding now to that shooting near Conway. It happened around 5 o'clock on Wharf Drive. Police say there's no risk to the community, but you may see more officers around that area. And again, the coroner is responding. Also just into our newsroom, Myrtle Beach Fire Department asking you to avoid part of Ocean Boulevard. Crews are working to put out a fire at the Residence Inn. We have a reporter on the way to the scene. We'll be sure to keep you updated on that breaking news situation. Also tonight, millions of Americans could miss out on U.S. government stimulus money due to incomplete records. Officials say more than 8.7 million Americans have yet to receive the payments due to inadequate government records. A report from the Treasury Department showed in April no data existed for about 14 million people who were eligible for stimulus payments but don't normally file tax returns. Those eligible recipients are likely to have a very low income and may be most in need of the federal stimulus funds. More in your consumer news tonight. Walmart has agreed to back an education fund proposed by President Trump. It's part of a deal between the retailer and Oracle to partner with the Chinese-owned app TikTok. The deal would create a new company, TikTok Global, and allow the app to keep operating in the U.S. At a rally in North Carolina last weekend, President Trump said part of that deal would be to create a $5 billion education fund dedicated to teaching the, quote, real history of the U.S. Months after losing its largest industrial company, millions of dollars and hundreds of jobs are coming back to this county. Next at 7:30, WMBF's Cameron Crowe explains why this is a win-win situation for everyone there. You may remember during the summer it was announced Marion County would be losing one of its biggest industrial companies. But in the last several weeks, the county received word more industrial projects are coming, while other companies are looking to expand. WMBF News reporter Cameron Crowe spoke with the county's Economic Development Commission about what these projects mean for that community.
This summer, it was announced that the Beneteau facility in Marion would be shutting down after 33 years. But within weeks, a new company, Leisure Pools, announced it would be taking over the site. Since then, the good news has continued for Marion County, as more industry is set to arrive in the area. As Maxwood Furniture announced they'd be opening a second facility in the county, along with DMA Holdings, who is building another facility in Nichols. Marion County Economic Development Commission Executive Director Dr. Julie Norman says these projects are set to bring in close to 400 jobs and will provide an over $30 million investment into Marion County. She says bringing industry to the area will keep many skilled workers from having to commute outside of the county for work.
If you think about the number of our citizens that travel outside the county to work, having those people come back and be able to work for a company right here in Marion County, you know, it's a win-win for everyone.
Norman says along with the companies already coming to or expanding in the area, there will be an announcement in the coming weeks of another company coming to Marion County. Reporting in Marion, I'm Cameron Crowe, WMBF News.
The rebuilt Nature Center at Huntington Beach State Park will officially open this week. The original building burned down after it was struck by lightning in July of 2016. A ribbon cutting ceremony set to take place Friday morning at 11. We'll have live coverage of that ribbon cutting Friday on Grand Strand today from 11 to 12.
And looking good out there this evening. Couple of clouds, comfortable temperatures, and not quite as cool as what we've seen these past couple of nights. That means a slightly milder start to your day on Thursday. Low 60s on the beaches, mid to upper 50s inland, and we'll also tack on a couple extra degrees for tomorrow afternoon. That puts us into the upper 70s with mostly cloudy skies at times, but it's a rain-free forecast tomorrow. But we do bring rain back into the forecast as we work our way into Friday. Notice those chances up to 70% late in the day Saturday into Saturday night. Some of those showers, maybe a thunderstorm, carry over into early Saturday, and then it's a drying trend as we work our way through the rest of the weekend. Overnight temperatures also going up. No more windows open this weekend as we'll see those nighttime temperatures kind of muggy again around 70. Eric?
Coming up at 11 o'clock, the deadline is looming for a Grand Strand Pier project. How an overlooked detail could mean losing $9 million to help with restoration. Big stories are always online, WMBFnews.com. Have a safe and enjoyable evening. Join us back here for your news at 11.